Selamat pagi and salam sejahtera. On behalf of KSI and FIABCI Malaysia, it gives me a great honor to thank the Minister of Housing and Local Government, Yang Berhormat Dato Sri Reezal Merican, Naina Merican, to be the guest of honor later through video link, I was informed. And I'd like to welcome Yang Berhormat Encik Michael Tiang, Ming, Deputy Minister for the Public Health, Housing and Local Government, Sarawak. I have been to Cebu many times, so I haven't got a chance to meet you. Finally, we meet. Okay. And I'd like to express my appreciations to Yang Bahagia Tan Sri Michael Yeoh, President of KSI Strategy Institute for Asia Pacific, to organize this summit with most appropriate subject: property recovery towards national recovery, building for better futures. And the KSI, they always organize all sorts of seminars. I really enjoy the sessions, especially networking. And recently I attended the Londoner. It was fantastic. This country is so influential that they can actually get me into House of Lords and House of Parliament and walk around dinner there. Thank you, Tan Sri. Tan Sri, Dato, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today after 2 years plus of pandemic, partly to celebrate the normalcy, almost. And I am glad to meet up with so many good friends, old friends. I wish you continue to take necessary precautions so that we can take out the mask as soon as possible, so they can see the full expression of smile. And I hope you will look younger after the protections of your face. Nothing better than the physical meeting. As I just came back from the World Conference of FIABCI in Paris, over there, nobody wearing masks anymore, but we have to take our precautions because after that conference, quite a number of people from Ukraine, Georgia, and US got COVID, so precautions is always better. Property recovery towards national recovery, building a better futures. This topic denotes we must have long-term strategies for sustainable property industrial growth, as this important sector affects almost approximately 145 subsectors in the economy, such as suppliers, such as manufacturer, consultant, architect. It is an industrial engine for the growth of the nations. 2022 July is a month of irony. 10 years ago, month of July 2012, my job was to plan a balloting process, crowd control for my purchaser because there's a long queue of people buying properties and everybody jumped into a property. I enjoyed that moment of excitement. And usually by this time, I say irony, I would have reached my sales target and the rest of 6 months is just a holiday in the company because the sales are so good. And however, we went through such a tremendous boom. A bit of over-speculative market could be very dangerous. And some of the unsold property overhang could be the end result of the tail end of the last boom, and not so much of the recent year of launching. I'm saying that is because the topic of overhang always pop up. And I don't believe that developer will continue to build any property overhang. They are business savvy and their business acumen is far-reaching. So what I would say is the government is don't put too many restrictions on developer because this engine of growth. But a bit of speculation is good for the industry and they will lead to a better investment. And then we fast forward to 2021 last year. I can't imagine at this time, I was so busy with setting up 6 PPB at the Setia Convention Center. Vaccination is my full-time job. I tell you, it is like a day in, day out in the morning, everybody call you for vaccine. And the Malaysians are very lucky. They go for vaccination, like going to a restaurant, they tell you, I want Sinovac, I don't want this, I don't want that. And we must have a full table to arrange, who is supposed to want a pregnancy, must go to Pfizer. It was such a busy time. It was such an irony the 10 years. Today, I wish to congratulate the government and the Raya who came together I saw the tremendous patriotism during that time. I was in DBB running around. I can see the volunteer selflessness to help the country on the vaccination program. And we achieved successful 80 to 90% vaccination within 4 to 5 months. It was such an intense exercise. It gave me such a pride and joy to see the patriotism of our nation. And this, first time I already observed Malaysia for that, we really meant it. And during that time, there are 3 phenomena were observed for the property industry. During the challenging years of 2021, a period of time, we thought it was impossible to operate without physical contact. At the end result of December 2021, a lot of property developers announced a fantastic sales result. For my company, FIABCI, we were target 3.8 billion and eventually we hit 4.3. It was such a tremendous success despite the lockdown. And secondary market, I just heard from the association, principal member of the FIABCI, they're experiencing a mini boom. What can we learn from there? The first thing is government policy. Successful vaccination program is so key to everything, and at a crucial time, the Malaysian government embarked the home ownership campaign. It provided the confidence and stimulation to developer and consumer to return to the market. And we have been talking about the compliance cost is too high. This HOC make the adjustment in cost in buying property, and with the 10% minimum discount provided by the government by the developer, make the entire proposition affordable. Number 2 is the digital platform. Undoubtedly, I thought the lockdown would be very easy, just relax, but we were ever busier than before with the digital device and digital marketplace. The whole process expediting the whole property industry into a digital era. And selections and researching in digital platform, making property purchasing more convenient. And third thing I observe is the Malaysian economy. Fundamentally, sometimes we like to complain about our economy, but you can see from there our economy fundamentally is still very strong and flexible. When we are locked down, the glove company industry supporting the whole entire national economy, then subsequently the palm oil, the petroleum, when the inflation started, we did benefit from that. And one last thing I observe is a lot of companies take this opportunity to do a lot of cost optimization. I went through personally 2 months and optimization exercise. Today, the property industry organization become very lean and strong. In order to sustain such a growth, which is important for the industry, we need to watch out a few following sectors. The demographics. A lot of brain drain, a lot of good graduates. We spend millions training them and they end up work in some other countries. The government probably need to sit down with the private sector, think about how to retain the brain drain for them to create the business for us, and then eventually they will create the demand for property industry. Second item is the demographic again. We need more babies. Baby boomer like me is getting old. The young one not producing enough babies. Where are we going to get the population to buy in our properties? My family used to have 10. Now I have 4. 4 very champion. Some of them have 1 or 2. We need to, in order for that to happen, we need to have the flexible employment conditions for the young couples, such as the work from home for the young couples who may need extra helps, especially getting a maid is getting tougher. We need to really, now we're all back to office, but we must also think about flexi hours, flexi working locations, so that the young family can continue to enjoy a good family life. Eventually, they have more babies for the demographic. We need demographic. And the third thing is the currency stabilization. And we just raised 25 basis point. I know it will hit the business sector hard, but this is the equilibrium that has to be done by the Bank Negara. On one hand, we have the inflation. On the other hand, we need to raise interest rate to protect our currency. But bear in mind, we only have about 110 billion US foreign reserve. But I do believe that the Bank Negara is capable to prevent the previous painful lesson in 1997 when the Asian market was attacked by the speculator. And one of the things, the fifth item I'm talking about, the increased confidence by the overseas, by our local market as well. Government policies such as Malaysia My Second Home, which I actually met up quite a number of the government ministry and department. We try to pass a message to them that please don't change frequently, because a lot of the Malaysia My Second Home people came in, they stay for long. If you want to change, please change for better. Don't change for more restrictive. We need that particular confidence. And also the speed of execution, like we're having a labor shortage. I just talked to one fellow because my construction site needs about 1,000 workers. He told me that until today he registered about 30,000. None of them coming in. We hope the government will expedite this process so that the industry can go back to normal. And also the new registrations. If we need to have a new registrations, I know that something is coming up. We need to have a discussion with all the stakeholders. Developers are the risk taker, but they are very business savvy. They are not going to jump in to create property overhang again, and don't be always look at the headline. Oh, high-rise cannot do, shopping complex cannot do. The product range is very locational centric, and we must give them support so that the industry continue to grow. We are doing okay, but we want it to be better for the future, a quantum leap. We must continue to do what we do best. The local demand related to affordability, the market is always there, but you need to create the demand by providing lifestyle products, building community and sustainable environment. Cannot just build and then hand over and walk away. Today our responsibility beyond just building. It is the community buildings and the lifestyle we are creating that matters. And compliant cost and inflation. Government need to consider new incentive for the home owners. First time buyer. Government may want to involve another HOC, maybe in a different form, to tailor for the special need. Government may lose a bit of income tax in terms of stamp duty, but the ripple effect through the economy will enable government to increase our tax revenue in other way. Don't perceive this is only helping developer, but it is entire supply chain. Overseas demand. Our population is 31 million. How many units can you buy? We need to have overseas demand. Bring that back to Malaysia. Local demand is not sufficient. Therefore, we need to re-examine Malaysia My Second Home, and don't perceive it as helping developer. Sometimes I saw the social media. The minute talk about that, they start to attack the developer or government helping developer again. Don't think that way. Our industry affects the entire supply chain, such as healthcare, hospitality, education. We need appropriate policy by the government, and we private sector were able to complement successfully. Third is to look at the overseas market. If the overseas market don't come here, we should go out to look for it. It's not easy, but there are successful stories which we should learn and emulate. FIABCI and the Star Publication have started a new award called Malaysian Developer Award. And there will be an award recognizing Malaysians have a pioneering spirit when overseas, like FIABCI, like in Singapore, in Melbourne. We want them to share with us, with other developers, aspiring developers, how shall we achieve better pioneering spirit to go overseas to explore the world. And the fourth thing is probably the last, is the adaptation of the new mindset. The ESG, the waste management, electrical charging station, all these things must come into play eventually. The carbon dioxide is up there now. Ice is melting. I heard from the North Post Explorer, they went there 30 years ago, the ice is about 3 meters thick. They went there recently, left at cm. We can't change that now. Whatever we do now for the environment, it takes time to see the effect. Meanwhile, we must adapt to the climate change. We have to re-examine the drainage system of building design. Must be critically examined to avoid any undesirable effect on our lifestyle. I trust the distinguished panelists will further enlighten all the participants in order to prepare for the future. We have the means, resources to manage our future if we work together. You enjoy the whole day event. I think it will be very enlightening and very, very inspiring from all the experienced panelists. Thank you very much.
Reezal Merican, Minister of Housing and Local Government, who is attending virtually today with us. Yang Michael Tiang, Deputy Minister of Housing and Local Government of Sarawak. Dato Seri Kang, President of FIABCI Malaysia and Chief Operating Officer of Setia Group. Yang Berjaya Tan Sri Yeoh, Tan Sri Abdul Rahim, Dato, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you to our Malaysian Housing and Property Summit. We have heard in great detail from Dato Sri the critical challenges of facing the housing industry, and Dato Sri has given us a very comprehensive overview of where we stand today in the housing and property sector. I wish to thank Dato Sri and FIABCI Malaysia for once again collaborating with KSI in organizing and presenting the National Housing and Property Summit. I wish to also thank FIABCI and PAN for their support of this conference. As many of the challenges have been outlined by Dato Sri, I will just be very brief in highlighting and adding on to what I believe are some of the other critical issues that the housing and property industry faces. I think first of all, we need to look at the 3R challenges that the industry will need to address. The 3Rs will recover, reset, and resilience. We need to ensure a sustainable long-term recovery for the housing and property sector. The industry needs to reset itself through the adoption of digital technology and many other new trends in the industry. And finally, the industry needs to develop long-term resilience to go forward to be a major contributor to the national economy. I think there are also a number of other critical challenges that we need to take into account. The perennial problem of affordable housing, and to come up with effective solutions for affordable housing so that we can meet the growing housing needs of our population. We need to also address the greater use of technology in the housing and property sector as digitalization will transform this industry going forward. Sustainability is also another key issue facing the property sector. And we need to also address the need to sustain and strengthen the partnership between government and the private sector to ensure more effective and efficient delivery. I believe that the federal and state governments have been very supportive of the industry, but I think that the level of government, local government, needs to improve its delivery system and enhance efficiency and productivity to ensure that the private sector can effectively address future challenges. So these are some of the critical challenges we face in the industry. We need to also make Malaysia more attractive for investors and to do all we can to attract more foreign investments in the property sector, as that will be essential to ensure the long-term resilience of the housing and property industry. So these are some very brief remarks that I'd like to just add on to the very comprehensive address that Dr. Sri Ko has given to us earlier. Once again, I want to thank my old friend Dr. Sri Reezal Merican for taking time off his very busy schedule this morning to address us virtually. Thank you also to YB Michael Tiang for representing another old friend of mine, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Housing and Local Government of Sarawak, Dr. Sri Singh Hian, for being with us here this morning. Thank you again to all of our sponsors, our speakers, the media, and participants for your presence with us here today. Sekian, terima kasih.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all. Tan Sri Michael Yeoh, President of KSI Strategic Institute for Asia Pacific, Dato Peng, President of International Real Estate Federation Malaysia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the co-organizers, Tan Sri Michael and Dato Ko, for inviting me to deliver the keynote address at this summit. It is indeed an honor for me to be here, to be among the key stakeholders from the housing and property industries in Malaysia. I hate to start my speech by mentioning COVID-19, but I must. The pandemic caused untold losses, not just in Malaysia, but also worldwide. We've all lost someone whom we know to the coronavirus. We know of people whose businesses were badly impacted by the pandemic. Sadly, the fight against COVID is still not over yet. The property industry too was not spared. Owners tried to hold on to preserve the value of their properties. Tenants were unable to pay their monthly commitments. Some were forced to pack their bags and leave. Businesses across multiple industries were also badly affected, and this impacted negatively on local property market. I know of developers who are struggling to keep their heads above water. In this tough time, most people are not spending on luxurious and big-ticket items, and that includes property. My dear colleagues, it's not all doom and gloom. We have survived 2 years of uncertainty. We are now back on track as Malaysia transitions to the endemic stage. Many restrictions have been lifted since April 1st. Businesses are coming back. It's almost near normal, almost. And the property market is also expected to gain and regain its momentum this year despite all these challenges. The economy is on the right trajectory, and the property market performance is expected to be on a similar track. We are emerging from the storm, and we are now heading towards better and brighter days. As such, accommodative policies and initiatives by the government, and my ministry specifically, is needed to help to support the growth in the property sector. There are already plans outlined in Budget 2022 and initiatives under the 12th Malaysian Plan to get things moving. Is our way of helping to build a better future for all. The property market recorded a slight improvement in 2021. We saw 300,497 transactions worth about 144 billion last year. This was an increase of 1.5% in volume and 21.7% in value compared to the corresponding years. The primary market saw few new launches. Nearly 44,000 units were launched last year as against to 47,000 units back in 2020. The decline was expected as developers held back on their new products due to the softening property market and the increasing number of unsold inventories. We are, however, seeing a revival of consumer spending. This is also aided by the gradual recovery in the labour market, the anticipated strong bounce back in public investment through the high allocation of development expenditure this year will underpin a firmer economic recovery. It would be naive of me to say that there will be completely zero challenges for those in the housing and property business. We may have entered the endemic phase, but there definitely will be hurdles. How do we provide affordable and decent housing for the rakyat given the rising cost of raw materials, shortage of labours and rising wages, among some challenges to mention here? There's also the need to come up with new building materials and designs to promote conservation and also sustainability. While all that is good, I believe the focus should be on livability and also quality housing. Livability is the paramount element that needs to be factored in. The whole world is talking about livability. My recent working visit to Katowice, Poland, for the 11th World Urban Forum validates our request in creating a livable Malaysia, or we call back home as Malaysia Berjaya Huni, by having more livable housing and also urban developments in the country. The wants and the needs of the consumer have also shifted. Many will soon resist the monotonous lifestyle as they seek more outlets and avenues to express their individuality. Such expression would be seen in the properties they buy. Gone are the days when houses are just 4 walls and a roof. Consumers now want smart homes equipped with high-speed internet access. The components of smart cities will inevitably become part of the urban living that we must be planning beginning from today. We must continue to be committed to creating a livable and comfortable environment for all walks of people, irrespective of their ages. This includes having the right infrastructure and facilities, whether it is for leisure, creation and access to medical care, and we must ensure that our elders lead comfortable lives. The government will continue to have the commitment in looking at the well-being of those in the lower income groups. There are without doubt challenges in providing decent, affordable housing. This is due to the growing population, changes in income brackets, and the rising cost of developing homes. These challenges will never stop us. The government remains steadfast to continue to provide enough homes for all. The Ministry of Housing and Local Government will launch the Home Ownership Program, or better known as HOPE, in our efforts to increase home ownerships among the rakyat. This is in line with the government's resolve in ensuring that the goal of one family, one house will be achieved. We have also reactivated the National Affordable Housing Council. The Council focuses on coordinating the implementation of affordable housing programs under the relevant ministries and government agencies. This also will include housing programs under the ministry at the federal and state levels, and also by the private housing developers as we aspire to build 500,000 affordable houses throughout the 12th Nation Plan. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to provide quality housing in a sustainable environment. Environmental protection and preservation remain a priority in all aspects of housing and urban development. Sustainable development also means giving back to society and nature. This is true, among others, the use of energy-saving and recyclable items. For developers, the word sustainability is not just a marketing gimmick. It is to add value to their properties and also to create sustainable homes and offices that will reduce carbon footprints. We must always take into account the welfare of home buyers, especially the first-timers. While I know most of you, especially, are responsible industry players, however, we still heard some unpleasant stories experienced by the home buyers. The government will continue to promote and to formulate policies that will not only to promote the housing and building industry, but at the same time to protect the interests of the house buyers. Distinguished guests, my colleagues, we do not pretend to know it all. The era of government knows best is over. Thus, my ministry has formed what we call panel of experts, comprising of 25 industry experts. They are combined knowledge, experience, and expertise that will eventually help the government to promote and to implement the best housing policies and programs for all the rakyat. The panel focuses on 5 areas, namely viability, affordability, accessibility, quality, and the final one, livability. With all these initiatives, we believe that the government and the ministry will be able to deliver better policy to facilitate the growth of the property sector. There will always be challenges upon us, but we must stand steadfastly and march together to face it. The new normal will definitely require us to adjust and to make some changes, and let's adapt to it. And most importantly, the government will continue to support businesses to grow while uphold the well-being of the rakyat, no matter how hard and difficult the situation may be. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before I go, allow me to thank the organizer once again for their efforts in getting today's event going. A big thank to you, Tan Sri Michael Chia and your team, and thank you to each and every one of you. I do look forward to hearing your views and suggestions that will ultimately benefit our housing and property industry. To quote the theme of the day, let's start building a better future. With that, I thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Yang berhormat Dato Sri Reezal Merican, Naina Merican, Honourable Minister of Housing and Local Government, Tan Sri Michael Yeoh, the President, KSI Strategy Institute for Asia Pacific, Dato Sri Kang, President, FIABCI, Malaysia, Deputy President and Chief Operating Officer, Setia Group. Tan Sri, Dato, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for inviting me to this presenting Deputy Premier and Minister of Public Health, Housing and Local Government of Sarawak, Professor Dato Sri Dr. Sin Hui Hian, to come to attend this summit and give a sharing about our property recovery towards national recovery, building a better future, Sarawak government's approach. In 2019, Malaysia enacted the National Affordable Housing Policy, or Dasar Perumahan Mampu Milik Negara, DRMN, which was intended to improve housing affordability for low-income groups. The DRMN is a sub-policy under the National Housing Policy 2018 to 2025, focuses on 5 core areas: improving accessibility and affordability, quality housing for all, cohesive neighborhoods, good coordination between housing and transportation, and institutional relations for the housing policy. As announced by FIABCI Prime Minister during the presentation of 12th Malaysia Plan 2021 to 2025 in Parliament on September 27, 2021, a total of 500,000 units of affordable housing (RMM) will be built in the period of RMK 12 to increase the supply of quality RMM for the benefit of the B40 and M40 target group. In addition, Majlis Perumahan Mampu Milik Negara (MPMMN), which is chaired by the Prime Minister himself and with the memberships of all Menteri Besar, Chief Minister and YB Minister from the ministry involved with the provision of affordable houses, has been reactivated as agreed by the Federal Cabinet on November 19, 2021. MPMMN will coordinate and monitor the delivery of 500,000 units of affordable housing from all implementing agencies and private sectors, achieved as envisioned under RMK 12 for the B40 and M40 to have a roof over their heads. As for Sarawak, the Sarawak government is committed to helping low-income families by targeting to build 2,391 units of affordable houses through HDC under Rumah Spectra Permata under RMK 12, with the selling prices of between 90,000 to 160,000 ringgit. For that purpose, Sarawak government will strengthen the bank financing through Mutiara Mortgage and Credit Setia by giving capital to provide loans to those house buyers. Our YLB Premier, Dato Patinggi Abang Johari, when announcing his 81 initiatives, we call it Abang Jo's 81 initiatives, in January 2020, that was before COVID-19 pandemic. There were several initiatives that are closely related to the agency under my ministry, namely Housing Development Corporation, we call it HDC, and its subsidiary company, Mutiara Mortgage and Credit Setia. Under Initiative 62, Building More Affordable Homes, the Sarawak government is committed to providing affordable homes to members of the low-income group B40 and the median income group M40 through the Village Expansion Scheme, SPK, in places like Lumpur, Sematang, Ikan, and Tiang in Matu, as well as Affordable Housing Scheme, RMN, that has also been implemented in Daruhana, Kuching, Kampung Tabuang Melayu and Tabuang Fuchau, Kuching, Kemungyang, Sibu, that's my hometown, Kampung Kapit Baru, Kapit, and Kampung Datu Baru, Sibu. Under Initiative 63, upgrading of infrastructure, facilities and amenities of traditional villages under the Urban Renewal Program. Under the program, traditional villages in Kuching, such as Kampung Kute, Kampung Sungai Mau, and Kampung Seketuk, have been earmarked for redevelopment. Under Initiative 70, housing loans, to help those in the B40 category to purchase a house built by HDC. I'll come back to this later. I am pleased to inform that under the Housing Development Corporation HDC, these initiatives have been achieved. Since its inception on 1st November 1972, HDC is committed to delivering the government's mandate to provide quality, affordable houses for the low-income group. This commitment can be seen with the completion of housing projects in 11 Malaysian land. The Rumah Spectra Permata, RSP, is among the big agenda of Sarawak government, implemented through HDC. It is set to bring changes and development to the rural areas by way of developing new settlements. It is a housing program meant for the low-income groups, especially those in the rural areas. As you know, Sarawak majority areas are in rural. This program is to enabling them to own houses through the Land and Surveys Department's Resettlement Plan and the SPK. Through the RSP, houses will be built and complete within 10 months, costing an estimated 90,000 to 160,000 ringgit, excluding the Land Survey Department's land premium. Applications for ISP units can be done by going to one's respective elected representative office, YB office, and only those meeting the requirements will be given priority. Among the criteria for eligibility are the age of the applicants to be 30 and above, having dependents, whether they are single or married, and also having a maximum monthly income of 6,000 ringgit. However, the criteria set under the Village Expansion Program also apply. To date, for information, there are 890 units of houses being built in completed and continuation project under Rumah Spectra Permata. Under Rumah Spectra Permata, new projects, there will be another 665 units being built throughout Sarawak. Program Perumahan Rakyat (PPR) or People's Housing Project is one of the 4 programs listed in Sarawak Housing Development Corporation, and the objective is to provide transit housing and achieve zero squatters. They are meant for Sarawakians only. I always joke, if your IC has the K, letter K, it's okay. You can apply for it. And you must marry with families with household income below 3,000 ringgit. They must not own any house or land nearby, and priority given to squatters. To date, a PPR rental in Sarawak has managed to provide homes to 2,547 families from the low-income group and squatters. In addition to PPR for rental, HDC, Housing Development Corporation, through RRP, People's Housing Plan, and RMM, Affordable Housing Project, has benefited 11,220 low-income families from all over Sarawak. The increase in house prices has now led to an increase in demand for affordable housing, especially public housing. Based on HDC records, it shows relatively high application of houses in major cities such as Kuching and Merican. To continue the state government's mandate to build more houses for the low-income group, HDC in the 12th Malaysian Plan will build 2,323 housing units involving 42 physical projects. As for the long house, long scheme, this is something that you don't have it in the peninsula. We have long houses in the rural area. And this program is now being actively carried out and receive overwhelming response from the long house community. The Housing Development Corporation individual long house loan program has benefited more than 19,000 Ping 2. Ping 2 means in long house it means a household units, right? Ping 2 through 835 projects implemented throughout Sarawak since its inception. The scheme comes in the form of building materials with a maximum loan worth of 30,000 per Ping 2, 30,000 ringgit per Ping 2 without interest. Apart from building houses, HDC last year introduced in Sarawak what we call the Sarawak Housing Rental Assistance Scheme, SRAS. Under Sarawak Rental Assistance Scheme, a rental assistance of 200 ringgit per month for 36 months, maximum 3 years, open to tenants working in Kuching, Sibu, Pintulu, and Miri. So if they rent a room, cost them 400 ringgit, the government will subsidize 200 ringgit every month for 3 years in major cities, as I mentioned. And there's another new program, scheme that Sarawak government early this year launched. It's what we call Housing Deposit Assistance Scheme, HDAS. Under this HDAS, an allocation of 10 million ringgit as part of this effort to help low and medium income earners, especially youth, to own their first home. Through the scheme managed by Mutiara Mortgage and Credit Center Berhad, a subsidiary of the Sarawak Housing Development Corporation, Sarawak government will provide a maximum house deposit of 10,000 ringgit or 10% of the house value to eligible recipients, especially those young couples when they want to buy their first home. Sarawak government provide them maximum 10,000 ringgit as their housing deposit to start up with. And this is only covers the affordable housing project registered with Sarawak government. So the initial allocation will benefit 1,200 young applicants from the B40 and M40 groups who could not afford to pay the deposit. As we all know, when the young couples want to buy their first home, always the first hurdle is the housing deposit. And Sarawak government stepped in to assist them in this aspect. The Sarawak government administration led by Gabungan Party Sarawak GPS has always been implementing policies that benefited the people. Sarawak is very fortunate to have visionary past and present leaders like our Premier, Dato Tan Sri Abang Johari Dung Open, who have the people's well-being at heart. He has said countless times that his hope is for every resident in the state to be able to afford a house to be called their home. And that is also my wish and hope too. I promise as part of this government administration, we will continue to study various ways for the people not just to afford a house, but also to have an environment that is livable and sustainable. And coming to a summit like this, I think it's a good chance for a rookie like me, a very new rookie in housing, to learn and to get more ideas, inspiration from the speakers. And I hope, and just lastly, I wish all the participants here to have a good day and fruitful day to learn and to get new ideas to help the government, to help our young people, Malaysian, Sarawakian, to own their home. Hence, with a caring Sarawak government administration, the stable political situations, and strong community among Sarawakian, may God bless you all. May God bless you with all the inspiration ideas. Let's build a future together. Thank you very much.